Rams Seahawks, this is the NFC Championship game that we've been hoping for and heralding for months by simple rating system, which is Pro Football Reference's catch-all metric for assessing the quality of a team. These are the two best teams in the NFL, and it isn't even close. Wilk, is this game the real Super Bowl?
I mean, no disrespect to anyone that's left on the AFC side, but it kind of feels like it to me. I mean, so the Rams were my number one team in our weekly power rankings for, I think, 7 weeks in a row over the second half of the season. The only reason they were bumped out is because the Seahawks, who were sitting at number 2 for a good chunk of that stretch, ended up getting by them, and I think it was a 38-37 game in Week 16.
Gosh, that game ruled so hard.
Yeah, these two teams are clearly the most complete teams in the NFL to me, and as we've seen twice already this year, they're pretty clearly an incredible matchup for each other.
Oh, yeah.
You start on the Seahawks side. We all know that Mike McDonald is a defensive mastermind. I think from the second he took that job in Seattle, he kind of laid the foundation for an elite defense. They've taken that to another level this year where they've kind of been step for step with the Texans as the best defense in football all season long. And, I mean, it was even just over the last few weeks, I think they put Kyle Shanahan's offense into a chokehold twice in 3 weeks.
They had like a 2000 Ravens game where it's been so long since I've seen a team get blown out by a massive score, like 41 points. With their defense, Sam Darnold went 12 for 17, 124 yards and 1 touchdown, and they scored. What did they score? 41 points.
Yeah.
That's like when the Ravens were really humming. That's what they could do. They scored more points than the offense scored.
Well, and that's the crazy thing to me is that like McDonald isn't just the defensive mastermind. To me, the equally impressive part is the way that he's managed this entire team. Because if you remember last year, like his first crack at putting together an offense did not go according to plan, right? But instead of sitting back, trying to stay patient and avoiding any sort of panic moves, he knew a change needed to be made. He pushed out Ryan Grubb after just 1 season. And the pivot to Clint Kubiak, along with bringing in Sam Darnold to replace Geno Smith, has kind of just given him the perfect complement on the other side of the ball. They haven't been great, but they've been everything the Seahawks could have needed. The Rams, meanwhile, are obviously just as balanced. Their superpower is what they've been able to do on offense. Obviously, Matthew Stafford throwing to Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. We've been talking about it all year. It's just been a cheat code. But obviously, Sean McVay is also one of the best game planners and schemers in the league, and his ability to kind of create matchups, especially with their 3 tight end sets, which they use more than any team in the league by a wide margin, have really allowed them to kind of beat any opponent in a variety of different ways. But, oh, by the way, they also have a run game that's, I don't know if you have seen this stat before, Zach, but they have the _1 success rate on rushes by running backs of any team this entire century.
Wow. Well, Kyren Williams and Blake Corum are like, those guys are 2 studs. Like they got 2-star running backs in the backfield.
Yeah, and like, look, the Rams defense has obviously been exposed a little bit over the past few weeks. I think we've been talking for a while about the weakness that they have on the back end, but they've got so much talent up front. And Chris Shula, who has emerged as a top head coaching candidate in the cycle, does a really good job of putting them in a position to succeed. So I really couldn't tell you who I think is going to win this game. If I had to pick, I'd probably go with the Seahawks just because they've been a little hotter recently. I like what they did last week, especially in the run game. I thought that was a bit of a breakout performance for Kenneth Walker. Maybe that's just a product of playing the 49ers defense. I don't know. But, man.
And Charbonnet's out.
Charbonnet is out, so it's going to be all Kenneth Walker. And I've been kind of waiting to see that because he is the more explosive of the two. So I'm interested to see if they can keep that going in the ground game. But either way, like to me, this is just shaping up to be like round 3 of the game of the year, and I don't care who wins. I just can't wait to see it.
Stafford kind of struggled. He kind of struggled last week against the Bears. Like obviously they figured out how to turn it up at the end of the game and go out and win that game. And I guess maybe you can chalk it up to the cold. And I've never seen. The Rams might have been the coldest team that's ever been experienced. They had a hot chocolate and chicken broth on the sidelines. Matthew Stafford was overthrowing guys, which you just completely never see, and they were getting owned a little bit by the Bears defense.
What's the weather in Seattle this week?
I'm guessing they're calling for rain, but that's just a stereotype. No, but speaking of Stafford,
it's above freezing.
Well, there you go. Speaking of Stafford, in the playoffs so far, he has the lowest passer rating among quarterbacks while under pressure. It's 24.8, which is really shocking. Seattle finished the season with the 6th best pressure rate in the NFL, and that's despite blitzing pretty infrequently. Is this kind of the perfect matchup for Stafford to kind of fall apart a little bit? What do you think, Wilk?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if there's one defense in the league that's going to kind of make the Rams one-dimensional, it's probably the Seahawks. They have they're the number one defense by EPA per play against the run since 2020. So I think that if they can kind of swallow up that run game, they did a pretty good job of it in the first two matchups. But even more so this time, if they can force them into those third and long situations, that's obviously their best chance in slowing down this passing attack. But I'm with Zach that like I was a little concerned about what the Rams looked like in Chicago. Part of it was the cold, I think. Part of it was probably Stafford dealing with that sprained finger that he suffered the week before. But then at the end of the game, he comes through with this ridiculous throw to Devontae on the left sideline, and I was kind of like, okay, I think he's going to be fine, especially if the weather's a little more favorable in Seattle. But yeah, I mean, I really liked how Sean McVay, like I think we were talking during the game about how this game plan just seemed a little weird, right? Like they have such a good run game and they just kept going back to Stafford and it wasn't working. They corrected it down the stretch, and McVay even said himself after the game, he was kind of like taking responsibility for the way that he called the game. He didn't like it. I think they even got away from their 13 personnel quite a bit.
Yeah.
I fully expect him to learn from that and learn from their first two matchups with the Seahawks and give them a good fight for sure.
I think we're missing two like major elephants in the room here. Do we don't know where Sam Darnold is at health wise. I mean, we talked about him attempting 17 passes in that game. He was a non-factor in the game, not because he wasn't good, but because they obviously didn't need him. And then also, Charles Cross got hurt in this game too, and he's day to day. McDonald didn't give much of an update. The difference in those two matchups of Cross being in and Cross being out was massive. In the first game he played, 30% pressure rate for Sam Darnold. He wasn't sacked once. In the second game that he didn't play, 43% pressure rate, and he was sacked 4 times in that game. If Cross doesn't play, I think that could have a major impact, because I feel like people are forgetting that
they won the second game though, right?
I was just going to say.
And scored 38 points.
I feel like people are forgetting from that first game or that second game, this was 30-14 in the fourth quarter with about 9 minutes to go until a punt return touchdown completely flipped the game on its head. And this was a team that scored 30. The Rams scored 37 points without Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams wasn't available in that game. He didn't even make much of an impact in the first game. He actually had 1 catch for 1 yard. I think that people are forgetting what Darnold looked like in both of these games, where he threw 6 of his 14 interceptions of the entire season against this Rams defense. Had his best in either of those games. And if you remember, before that latter part of that second game, I mean, he was just as bad as he was in the first game until they obviously had to have it. And there was a 2-point conversion play where it bounced off of. What am I forgetting now? It bounced off of somebody else's hands.
Oh, yeah.
It was a backwards throw.
Yeah, it went backwards.
The two-point conversion to tie the game.
It was ridiculous.
I like the Rams in this game because I do think that there's a little bit more here that I think benefits them offensively when it comes to Dennis Allen's defense being a lot more man coverage and this being more zone. I think that'll help their offense a fair bit because they don't have the speed like Rashid Shaheed type of speedster impact guys. This would definitely, I think, benefit Devontae Adams to see a little bit more zone coverage in this game than they did against the Bears, where he didn't make much of an impact in the first half. I like the Rams here because I do think that they're well positioned of the two teams to offensive line wise to mitigate the pressure from each of these defensive lines.
So I like that when you were talking about the last matchup, you brought up that punt return touchdown, because that is
a huge X factor.
Big part of this game that I think most people probably aren't going to be talking about is that the Seahawks special teams has been awesome, especially ever since they brought in Rashid Shaheed at the deadline. It's been a huge addition. And the Rams special teams has been awful all year long. They fired their special teams coach with like 2 weeks left in the season. That is unheard of for a Super Bowl contender. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this is another super close game with a special teams play, perhaps from Rashid Shaheed making the difference again.
Zach, who you got in this one?
This is such a tough one because you have talked about, like, Chris Shula, he does kind of have Sam Darnold's number, which, like, really freaks me out, but I can't get the image of what that 49ers or what the Seahawks defense did last week against Kyle Shanahan, even though they're injured, even though it doesn't matter because Kyle Shanahan is one of the greatest game planners we've ever seen. Mike McDonald, I say it every single week. I'm working on a theory that he's the best coach in the NFL. He does special teams really well. He makes sure the defense is coached really well. He makes sure the offense is coached really well. They're a very holistic football team. I think they're behind Sam Darnold, and I think that defense has another 2000s Ravens type of game in them, and they're going to go out and win this one.
In Seattle, too. An NFC title game in Seattle.
Yeah.
That's a tough place to play, man.
That crowd's going to be insane. I think the special teams, that's my thing too.
Yeah.
Special teams is my thing too. I think Rashid Shaheed finds another touchdown or gets them in a really good field position advantage all throughout the game, and I think that's how they win.
Well, it's interesting too because no matter which quarterback wins this game, whether it's Matt Stafford or whether it's Sam Darnold, I think it's a great story. You have Stafford going for his second. You have Darnold trying to complete the kind of rags to riches trajectory. My question is, does the winner of this game win the Super Bowl? T, on the spot, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think that these two teams are just, we talked about it, being more complete. Like, these are the two best teams in the league, and I think that they'd be in a very good position to win a Super Bowl on a neutral field against either of the teams from the AFC.
Wilk?
Yeah, I mean, if I called this the real Super Bowl, I can't go back on that now. So whoever wins this game, I will be taking over the AFC champ for sure.
Zach?
Yeah, I mean, if you're just purely analyzing this on who's the better football team, these two teams, I would take over both of the teams in the AFC. So I think my baby boy, Sam Darnold, is going to be holding up that Lombardi trophy at the end of the year, and Jets memes will be abound, and everybody will have a great time.
We're all going to be so upset when Drake May hoists the Lombardi and the Patriots are back on top.